So I want to welcome you all to Trust After Trauma. This is podcast episode number 11. And today we have a very special guest, and we are very excited to be on this journey. Trust After Trauma podcast was created to really share heartfelt stories, inspiration, empowerment to help people that have experienced any form of trauma to get the tools they need and really take the driver's seat back in their own lives so that they can see that they're moving forward and really making a difference in the direction that they're taking in their lives, and also inspiring and empowering their children, their loved ones, the people in their community, and beyond. So today we have a very special guest. Lawrence Harris is with us, and I'm going to read Lawrence's bio. He's a 19-year-old youth empowerment speaker who supports teens and young adults in building self-love, resilience, and a positive outlook on life. Drawing from his own experience facing childhood abuse, autism, and C-PTSD, he's dedicated his last 4 years of life to supporting others in need. He's reaching out because he believes that he can bring a unique value to this audience and to our podcast as someone who's both had personal experience with trauma and healed it. And also, he's going to share what he found to be the most effective for other young people that he's helped. So welcome to the podcast today, Lawrence. We're so glad to have you here. Yes. So today our topic is going to be breaking free, overcoming the trap of feeling either not enough or too much. And I know that we've all experienced, some level of that in our lives, and through different forms, different types of relationships, and trying to also anchor our own authenticity, our own authentic being. And so tell me what your inspiration or your experience with this particular topic and why this was inspiring for you.
Well, there are many ways I can take that question, but the two that immediately jumped out to me was that growing up, I was always either too much, as in too emotional, too energetic, too excited, or I was never tough enough. I was never enough to fit in. And that led me down a path of feeling like I was not enough to be lovable, too much to be understood, not enough to make people proud, too much of something. And then understanding with a lot of therapy, a lot of journaling, and the self care practices we're going to talk about today helped me to realize that there are situations in life when people will say you're too much for them. Not that you're too much of a person, not that anything wrong with you, but that's just not your people. The people who like football are friends with the people who like football because that's their people.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it's not that I'm too much. It's just that I'm trying to put myself in an environment that isn't good for my gifts. And my own journey with childhood abuse came in the form of feeling like I was too much of being too talkative, too emotional, which led to my dad hurting me. And you start to make these scenarios up in your head of maybe if I wasn't too much, this wouldn't have happened. And you start to blame yourself. Maybe if I was more of what he wanted, this wouldn't have happened, but it's not your fault. It's just that our mind is really good at playing tricks on us.
Mhm.
And when we learn how to when we learn how to control that, that's the first step on learning how to control the story of our life.
Yeah, yeah. You said so many things that I would love to engage in a deeper understanding and a deeper conversation about it. And when you talk about, the relationship with another person, and even your analogy about, football people like to be engaged in football people conversations, right? And when you feel like you're too much and their energy frequency is somewhere down here, and even the articulation of how you share a story is maybe more animated than how they might share a story. And then there the thing that naturally occurs, especially from childhood, is that you're that's how you equate whether you're being loved or not.
Yeah.
If I do what they want, then I will receive love. And how did you how did you come to that understanding? And then what did you do to to allow yourself to be who you are without having to feel like you had to please everyone around you?
Well, there were many things that helped me. But the first one I would say is COVID gave everyone about 2 years of being locked in a house with themselves and with the people around them. And I did a lot of journaling during that time because I had nothing else I could do. There wasn't any place you could go. You couldn't go to any restaurants. Parties weren't a thing. There was nothing you could do except scroll on your phone, watch TV, and entertain yourself in the house. And in journaling, I started to notice patterns. Like I start to notice, oh, when my family says this, or when I hear someone say something that reminds me of my childhood, I feel this way. And it leads to this behavior. Why? And I started getting to the root of how my childhood experiences impacted the way I was viewing the world. Then, by understanding the impact that had, I was able to begin understanding how to solve it. And the thing that really helped me to stop allowing others' opinions and others' approval to keep me stuck was the realization that, as grim as this may sound, everyone whose opinion we're worried about, in 50 years, they're probably going to be dead. So when you're sitting on your deathbed, you don't want to be thinking about, I should have, could have, would have, if I wasn't so worried about the approval of people in high school. Then I started to have the courage to do what I knew made me me. I'm not wearing it today because it's really hot outside, so I didn't want to wear this whole thing. But there's this suit that I love wearing. It is a bright purple suit, and it has these bright purple shoes. I used to wear that to high school just because I felt like it. No particular reason. I just felt like it. This is how I feel today, so this is what I'm wearing today.
Mhm.
And my school was near a lake, and I love fishing. So I would bring a fishing rod to school and go fishing after school. And people would judge me. They'd be like, why would you have that here? Well, there's no rule saying I can't.
Mhm.
There's no rule saying you cannot bring a fishing rod to school. There's no rule saying I can't do that. So by having the understanding that other people's opinions don't matter as much as we truly believe they do, and having the audacity to dare, you start to prove to yourself that you have the control in your power to live a life on your terms. And for people who are facing trauma, it can often feel like you're really powerless. It can feel like there's nothing I can do. I'm not free. I'm trapped. I'm stuck here. But once you can envision a better possibility and you start to take actions towards that better possibility and you start to see little but true results, like little results, you see that, wait, this is actually possible. And eventually, you're no longer a prisoner to your past.
Mhm. It's brilliant. Was there was there someone that inspired you? Because that's a really big concept, is to catch a vision for your future and then take the inspired steps forward and pay attention to, this feels good. This one's getting me the results I want. This one isn't, so I'm not going to do that anymore. Was there anyone, or was there a book or a program that you followed that gave you, because you're a 19-year-old, a young adult, and that's a
Yeah.
pretty big concept for a 19-year-old.
Well, when I was 11, there was this summer camp I used to go to. Funny I mentioned it because 3 weeks ago I actually did a speech there. Like it was a huge full circle moment where they're like, we're bringing in this motivational speaker. He used to be a camper here, and all the kids were super excited. But when I was 11, we had a motivational speaker come in, and his name is Wallow267. And long story short, when he was 16, he got sent to prison, served like 25 years. Like he didn't get sentenced to 25, he served 25. So he went in a literal child, came out grown. And he was telling us about how the thing that led him there was he was trying to impress everyone. He was trying to like fit in with all the tough guys. And while he was in there, he started getting into reading and he started like journaling and meditating and created this whole plan for his life for when he got out. He was going to take advantage of every opportunity possible and achieve his goals. Fast forward a year, just 1 year after he got out of prison with a long criminal record, with no money to his name, living in his grandma's back room, so a room in his grandma's house, with nothing but that book and a phone, he has now become a multimillionaire. So,
And
at the time, he wasn't a multimillionaire, but he was a motivational speaker. He has spoke at Google, all within 1 year of being out of prison. And that planted a seed in me that even though I didn't fully realize it at the time, because kids don't really realize it at the time, it hit them year down the line. I realized from that moment that, wait, if this guy can do that, so can I. Then you get into people like, you know, Tony Robbins and the Les Browns of the world, and books such as, I'm trying to remember it. I can't remember the author, but I'm sure you've heard of this. The book is called A Man's Search for Meaning.
yes.
For those who don't know about this book, it was written by a Holocaust survivor. And you would think that literally seeing people get gassed left and right would destroy all hope in you. And it does. But he noticed that, hey, just thinking about his wife made him feel good. In the
Mhm.
most dangerous, most horrifying situation imaginable, things that we can't even conceive of, the faith of his wife is what got him through it. So, understanding that, even when I was going through my own mental health challenges, I started applying that. I was like, wait, if I can have even the tiniest bit of faith and hope, then something is possible. And thankfully, I also had a therapist who she helped me understand that you are not your emotion. You feel upset, but that does not mean you are upset. You feel sad, but that does not mean you are that thing. Because I would often have these feelings of being worthless, these feelings of not being good enough, these feelings of just hopelessness. But you feel it, but that does not mean you have to be that thing. It's like you're looking out on a river and all of your thoughts are these leaves, and you're the one looking at the leaf and deciding, do I want to grab that or not? Oh, that's a happy leaf. That's a good leaf. I want that. Let me grab that. Oh, that's a painful, sad, worried leaf. It's still going to be there, but I don't have to grab it. I just have to let it flow away. And eventually, a new emotion will happen, and you get to grab that. And then I've had experiences such as I used to be a tour guide for a forest in my city, and being out in literal nature, you start to realize that wait, a lot of the stuff that we think matters, the stuff we get so worried about, like I need to have a nice car, I need to have this house, my bank account is low, my bills, my this, my that. Being in that forest, like it, there weren't bears or anything. It was just deer and turtles and a river and hills. It made me realize that a lot of what we think matters doesn't, because when you strip it down to its simplest terms, if you have food, water, shelter, and people that care about you, you have a pretty good life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and again, you brought up so many amazing things. And I love that book. And it's Viktor Frankl is the author. And I bought that book for my son and many, many of my clients. And Tony Robbins was my first mastermind coach in 1996. And so as you were sharing all the different people, Les Brown was my speaking coach when he used to coach. He doesn't do that anymore, but I was blessed, decades ago to be able to study with them and recognizing that when we can have a vision and then know that someone else has done it before us, which then proves it can be done, right? Just like when someone crossed the 4-minute mile and then
Yeah,
everyone else, they're, within the next year, 20 more people had crossed the 4-minute mile where they believed it wasn't even possible. So what you're sharing today is so important because the other aspect of what you shared are our feelings and our emotions aren't us. We just experience them. So
yeah,
when we don't own them and say, I mean, there's parents out there that say, you are bad. No, what
mm,
you did was bad, but you're not bad. And
yeah,
as a child, you just take what they say and believe it. And
yeah,
you're talking about faith right now, too, which I just want to touch on and then ask you a few more questions about it because I was also raised, I'm a profound woman of faith. And when we recognize the importance of how it is that we identify the beliefs that we have that are either assisting us in moving forward or holding us hostage. In the Bible, it says, it is done unto us as we believe.
yeah,
And how we can take that into a practical understanding for our lives. The most important thing we need to pay attention to is what do we believe? What do you
yes,
believe about yourself? Right? Not based on what someone else believes about you. There's another brilliant book that comes to mind. Terry Cole Whitaker was a minister out in the Southern California area for 30 plus years and has written 25 books or more. And one of the titles of her books that I just love is "What You Think of Me Is None of My Business." It's that's that person's, journey and their belief.
Yeah.
What your parents think of you, whether you're too much or not enough, is not yours to try to dissect. Your work is to just honor and own the magnificent being that you are. And
Yes.
so share with us a little bit more from that perspective.
Understanding that other people's opinions don't define you. The thing that really got me to not only understand it, because a lot of times we'll know, but to understand it truly, you have to kind of live it. It's the fact that, like I said earlier, most of the people whose opinions we're worried about, they're not going to matter in 50 years. But assuming we live another 50 years, which is very realistic, our opinion of us is the only one that we have from day one until whenever we get put in the ground. And I'm actually in the process of writing my own book where I detail not only like the trauma I went through, how I got through it, what methods I used, but then breaking down the symptoms of C-PTSD, which is complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is, I describe it to people in the book like this. Imagine you are taking a shower made of molten lead and you don't have skin. And every time when something triggers you, like somebody says something about you that upsets you, and it may be something that my dad said about when I was younger, it's like you're dragged right back to that moment when you're 12 and you're getting a black eye. It's not, oh, I remember it. No, you are physically, mentally, spiritually 12 years old again.
Yeah.
You're back there. And you have to learn how to navigate life with that. Like you have to be able to navigate life, being able to handle criticism, being able to handle judgment, being able to handle all these things without letting them define you. And something that you brought up too about like the Bible is I actually have mine next to me. I think the verse is Isaiah, it's Isaiah 61:1. The Lord have sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, preach strength unto the meek and liberty unto the captives. It's something like that. And in understanding the fact that the world's opinion of you does not have to define you, there's no greater example than Jesus. That's the greatest example of it. You can be the absolute most perfect, sinless individual ever. You can feed the homeless. You can donate to charity. You can do everything right. And there's going to be somebody who doesn't like you, but there's going to be people who love you. And you don't have to be a perfect person. You don't have to make everybody proud and everybody love you because Jesus couldn't do that. Even being authentic, just being you will make someone feel offended. So you have to feel good about yourself because if somebody doesn't like you, they can simply leave. No
Yeah.
one's forcing them to stay. No
Yeah.
one's forcing them to stay in your life. So you have to have a good opinion of yourself because even in my own experience, when I make YouTube videos and TikTok and Instagram videos, I'll have somebody who says something bad about me.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, though, we often allow the negative opinions of people to outweigh the good opinions.
Mhm.
But it's not even about the opinions of other people. It's about How do you feel about you? And there's so many ways I could even build off of that because in writing this book, it has caused me to see everything in such a magnified depth that I'm weaving in like so many different life experiences into this thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and just like the Bible, the stories, the parables are
Yeah,
the methods of teaching. So we get our experiences, and then those are the stories that we get to share and inspire and empower others by sharing a story that they can relate to. In fact, Les Brown, when he was my speaking coach, he would say, your only job is to not tell a uh, not tell a story that was inspiring. Tell a story that's unforgettable. And your job is to make sure that every person in that audience feels better about themselves, but talking about you because you're the one that shared the story. You're the one that woke that part up inside of them. And that's what you're here to do today, is to wake up the ways in which people are even identifying with their feelings as who they are instead
yeah.
of just what they're feeling. And how important is that? That dictates the quality of your life. And for me, I've written also many, many books on self love, on self confidence, on self esteem. And when we can love ourselves as the creator loves us, not as, oh, that's how my father wants to love me,
Yeah.
as the creator, right? We're made in the image and the likeness of the creator. And we all have a unique thumbprint that says, this is who I am and what that means to me to bring about the best in myself to allow my life to really reflect the values that I've identified with. So, is there a story or something that you would like to share based on your unique thumbprint or something that you want to share with our audience today that really assists you in identifying your your either breakthrough moment or something that you experienced that is really an unforgettable moment that could really inspire someone.
So I talk about this in my book too. It's nowhere near out, but it when this thing is out there, it's going to be a number one seller. So I'm 15 years old, looking in my bathroom mirror, and my eyes are all bloodshot because I'm sleep deprived because I can barely sleep. And my face is puffy from stress. I got acne breaking out. I looked a mess. And I just asked myself, why? Like, what had led me here? What had led me to feeling unlovable? What had led me to feeling like my life does not have purpose? Which is ironic because I have a therapist, I have friends, I have family members. I moved out of my dad's house. I'm living with my mom full time, and so are my siblings. So we're all physically safe. Our needs are met. We have food, water, shelter. But why do I feel like I have nothing? And then the answers all hit me. It was because of the things I've been running. Yeah, I had healed a lot of stuff. I made a lot of progress, but there was that stuff like that little voice in the back of your head that you just try to push it off, but you don't want to acknowledge what it's saying to you. You don't want to open that door and go through all that mess in order to get to the other side. You don't want to face the bad habits you have that are really just coping mechanisms for the pain you refuse to acknowledge. I didn't want to face myself. I didn't want to get brutally honest about the part I have played in keeping myself stuck mentally. I didn't want to forgive, not in the sense that you just forgive people for the wrong they've done to you and say la la it's all fine now, they could change, even though they have proven that that individual cannot change. But I didn't want to let go of that hatred in me. I didn't want to let go of that like hatred I had towards them. But it was the only way. And that opened the door to a very messy but necessary process of healing, working through those like thoughts that you had. Where'd that voice in your head coming from? Why did you get nervous when you go to certain places? Why do you do this? And you have to understand yourself. But on the other side of the pain, that this is actually a line that I wrote in there. I just realized I'm about to say this. On the other side of the pain that you refuse to acknowledge is the life that you want.
Mhm.
We want a life of meaning, a life of purpose, a life of value to the world. We want to feel confident. We want to love ourselves. We want all these great things. We want money. We want relationships. We want success. But to get them, we have to unpack what's holding us back from it. Why are we stopping ourselves? What fear do we have? What beliefs do we have? What beliefs are we holding about money that are stopping us from getting it? What beliefs are we holding about relationships, about trust, about family, about love? What's holding us back? And then you start to realize that it's an ego punch. Like it hurts your ego when you have to say that what your mom or dad said to you when you're 5 years old is the reason why you have relationship issues at 25. That's an ego hit, but it's the truth. And when I looked in that mirror and I got honest with myself, I saw the truth about myself. I saw the truths I've been holding on to that weren't even my truth. They were the truths that were forced upon me by the people who hurt me. And it's only when we change the script in our own head that we can change the script of our life.
Yeah, so important and so well said. And really, it does take courage to look in the mirror, to ask yourself those really, really important questions. And so in our final question, as you're wanting to inspire others to really identify the things that are triggering them, maybe still, that makes them feel like they're still giving their power to someone outside of themselves, where they're feeling that sense of not enough or too much. Is there a tool, something specific or something that you want to share with us? And then I would love for you to share how we can stay in touch with you.
Best tools for understanding what triggers you, understanding how to heal it, and being aware of the problem, journaling. You
Mhm.
don't go into it necessarily with a specific prompt per se. Just notice the patterns. Like, wait, dear diary, today I am feeling upset. Why, Lawrence? I'm feeling upset because of this. And then eventually you'll start to realize, wait, that happened last week, last month, last year. Why am I getting upset at this specific thing? Oh, it's because they said that they don't like my shoes. Well, why do you get mad when someone doesn't like your shoes? because it makes me feel like I have cheap clothing. Why did the concept of cheap clothing make you feel bad? Because when I was growing up, we didn't have much money, and now you start like unpacking the real reason to it. But if I told you to go in specifically looking for what triggers you, you wouldn't have got to the like genuine truth of it. You have to
Yeah.
quiet your mind and just let it flow out of you and then read it back to yourself.
Yeah.
And then after a year, like a full 365 days of journaling, you can go look back on March 12th of 2024 and you can read that and then compare it to March 12th, 2025. And you're like, wait, I've made a lot of progress. I've grown as a person. I can control my emotions better. My relationships are better. Life is so much better. And you have undeniable proof that you've grown. And that proof reminds you that your life is in your hands. Yes, things will happen. Yes, you cannot control everything, but you can control you. And the more control you have of yourself, the more control you would have over your decisions, and the decisions you make ultimately lead to your life. So get a journal. I'm telling you, the three things that when
Great.
I go to these big conferences and I'm getting brought in by organizations to speak to teens and young adults, I always tell them, get a journal, get physical exercise, and go outside.
Yeah.
These are they're borderline completely free.
Yeah.
They help with every aspect of your life. And journaling allows you to figure out what works for you in specific because you understand yourself more than I can ever understand you.
Right.
Now, as far as ways people can keep in touch with me, my social media pages are all Lawrence C. Empowers. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. They are all Lawrence C. Empowers. My website, if you're looking for booking me for a school or podcast, lawrencecharris.com. And if you just want to directly get in touch with me and say, hey, Lawrence, I have a speaking opportunity for you. I have a podcast I want you to come on. My email address, lawrence@lawrencecharris.com. I'm very easy to find.
Yay. We love easy and we love inspiration. And, I know that the work that you're doing to inspire the youth and to help to empower them to be the best version of themselves is so needed and so necessary out in the world right now. And thank you for sharing your stories and your journey to help unpack new ways that anyone who's experienced any form of C-PTSD or autism or any of the experiences, everything that you've shared has been truly inspirational. And from our hearts to yours, we thank you so much. And we hope that everything that's moving forward and your book, we'll have you on again when your book comes out and we'll just keep moving forward. But from our hearts to yours, thank you so much for your time and your expertise and your passion.
Thank you. It was wonderful being here.
Thank you so much. God bless.